All right, so today we're going to be diving into something pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about alien life
Oh, wow.
as imagined by Winston Churchill.
I love it.
And get this, you've sent us not just one essay, but multiple versions of his thoughts on this.
That's pretty cool.
Including one that was practically lost to time.
Oh, my gosh.
It's really incredible.
It's like a historical treasure hunt, isn't it?
It is.
Here we have Churchill, 1939, World War II was brewing.
Yeah.
And he's taking time to ponder the existence of life beyond Earth.
I know, it's just like...
It's amazing.
It really makes you think about the kind of mind that can grapple with world-altering events while also contemplating the vastness of the universe.
Absolutely.
So where do we even begin with this?
Well, at the core of his argument is this fascinating idea.
Okay.
Given the sheer size and scope of the universe,
Right.
it's pretty unlikely that Earth is the only place harboring life. He even uses the Copernican principle to back this up.
The Copernican principle.
Yeah.
Can you remind us what that is again?
Of course.
Okay.
It's basically the idea that Earth isn't at the center of the universe.
Right.
And Churchill takes that a step further, saying if we're not physically at the center, why should we assume we're the only ones with life?
Wow.
And this was decades before we had even set foot on the moon.
So he was really challenging the prevailing worldview of the time.
Absolutely.
It's not just some random musing either.
Right.
Churchill actually took a very systematic approach to exploring this question.
Churchill laid out what he saw as the essential ingredients for life as we know it.
Okay.
Liquid water and a habitable temperature range.
Right.
Then he systematically went through different celestial bodies in our solar system.
Wow.
And even beyond.
Okay.
To assess their potential for hosting life.
And from what I've read, Mars and Venus were looking pretty promising to him.
Based on the scientific understanding of the time. They seemed like the best candidates within our cosmic neighborhood.
Okay.
And this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Because his focus on liquid water and temperature leads him to make some pretty insightful observations about the distance of planets from their stars.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. The habitable zone.
Exactly.
That sweet spot around a star where conditions are just right for liquid water. Not too hot, not too cold. Like Goldilocks in her porridge.
Right.
So Churchill was basically onto this concept way back then.
Exactly.
Wow.
He understood that a planet's distance from its star would be crucial in determining whether we could support life as we know it.
Yeah.
And remember, he's writing this in the 1930s.
Right.
Long before the term habitable zone even existed.
Wow.
He even predicted the existence of planets orbiting other stars.
Oh, wow.
We now call them exoplanets.
Right.
And contemplated whether they might harbor life.
That's incredible. Now, that's what I call thinking ahead of the curve. But here's what I find really intriguing.
Right.
You mentioned that we have multiple versions of this essay.
We do.
That seems like a story in itself.
It is.
Okay.
And the slight variations between these versions give us a glimpse into how Churchill's thoughts on extraterrestrial life evolved over time.
Oh, interesting.
There's the 1939 version titled, Are We Alone in Space?
Right.
Which is incredible in itself.
Yeah.
But then we have a version published in 1942 with the slightly more dramatic title, Are There Men on the Moon?
So he was playing with the titles a bit.
He was.
I can see how a title like Are There Men on the Moon would have captured the public imagination.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially back then.
Especially back then.
But then hold on to your hats.
All right.
Because in the 1950s, another version titled Are We Alone in the Universe surfaces.
Yeah.
It's like he's broadening the scope of the question.
He is.
With each iteration.
With each iteration.
It's like we're piecing together a puzzle of Churchill's mind. From what I understand, some serious detective work went into unraveling the history of these different versions.
Oh, definitely. There's this analysis by Finest Hour, which is a journal dedicated to the study of Winston Churchill.
Okay.
They did an amazing job tracing the timeline and highlighting the subtle changes he made to the essay over time.
Wait, so Finest Hour is a journal?
It is.
I thought it was something else.
Yes. It's a bit of a specialized term.
Okay.
It refers to Churchill's famous speech during World War II.
Okay.
But there's also this fantastic journal named after it that focuses on his life and work.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
So the folks at Finest Hour helped us understand how this essay on extraterrestrial life evolved over time.
They were instrumental in piecing together the puzzle, you could say.
Okay.
For instance, they discovered that the 1942 version actually omitted a whole section on the nature of life.
Wow.
That was present in both the 1939 and 1950s drafts.
No, that's fascinating. It makes you wonder why he decided to remove that section. It does. And what those changes tell us about his evolving thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've got this incredible essay on alien life written by Winston Churchill.
We do.
Multiple versions with intriguing variations.
Yes.
And a whole lot of questions about what those changes mean.
A lot of questions.
Where do we go from here?
Well, let's delve into some of the specifics in Churchill's writing.
Okay.
There are some real gems in there, particularly his observations about the moon and the likelihood of finding life on its surface.
Okay, let's unpack that. What did Churchill have to say about our celestial neighbor?
Well, Churchill painted a rather stark picture of the moon, calling it an arid desert, capable of supporting, at best, only the lowest forms of life.
So even back then, he seemed to grasp that surviving on the moon wouldn't exactly be a walk in the park.
Yeah.
It kind of makes you appreciate how far we've come in understanding the challenges of space exploration.
Absolutely.
Right.
Back then, the scientific understanding of space environments was much more limited. What's remarkable is that even with that limited knowledge, Churchill was able to make these insightful leaps of logic.
Yeah.
He wasn't just thinking about the moon either.
Okay.
He was already pondering the possibility of planets orbiting other stars.
Oh, wow.
What we now call exoplanets.
It's incredible to think that he was contemplating exoplanets decades before the first one was actually discovered in the 1990s.
I know.
What was the scientific consensus on exoplanets back then? Is Churchill going against the grain with this idea?
It was a pretty fringe concept at the time.
Okay.
Most astronomers were focused on understanding our own solar system.
Yeah.
And the idea of planets around other stars was mostly relegated to science fiction.
Right.
But Churchill, ever the forward thinker, saw the potential.
Okay.
He even wrote,
it
is more than likely that a large fraction of these will be the right size to keep on their surface water and possibly an atmosphere of some sort.
Wow.
Do they house living creatures or even plants? The answer to this question may never be known.
Wow. That's an incredibly prescient statement.
It is.
He basically laid out the foundation for what would become a major field of astronomical research.
He did.
It's like he was planting seeds that would take decades to blossom.
Exactly.
And those seeds weren't limited to just the existence of exoplanets.
Wow.
Churchill's focus on the conditions necessary for life, especially his emphasis on liquid water and temperature. Right. Essentially foreshadowed the concept of the circumstellar habitable zone, which we were talking about earlier, right? The Goldilocks zone. So to clarify, Churchill didn't explicitly use that term.
Right.
But his reasoning aligns perfectly with that concept.
Precisely.
Okay.
He recognized that a planet's location in relation to its star would be crucial for the existence of liquid water.
Yeah.
And therefore for the potential for life as we know it.
Right.
It's a remarkable insight for someone writing in the 1930s.
Yeah.
A testament to his scientific curiosity and his ability to connect the dots.
You know, I think what makes this essay so captivating is that it challenges this conventional image of Churchill as primarily a wartime leader.
I agree.
It reveals this other side of him.
Yes.
This deep thinker who is fascinated by science and the big questions about our place in the cosmos.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It reminds us that even those we perceive as figures of action and authority can also be driven by a profound sense of wonder.
Right.
And a desire to understand the universe around us.
Yeah.
And this brings us back to the multiple versions of the essay.
Okay.
You mentioned the 1942 version omitted a section on the nature of life.
I did.
Why do you think he made that choice?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Perhaps he felt it was too speculative for a wartime audience.
Yeah.
Maybe he wanted to focus on the more immediate possibility of life on other planets within our solar system.
Right.
Or could it be that his own views on the nature of life were evolving as he continued to reflect on this topic?
All plausible explanations.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to consider the context in which he was writing and how that might have influenced his editorial decisions.
Right.
The fact that he revisited and revised the essay multiple times over the years suggests this was a topic that truly captivated his imagination.
Yeah, it really does.
It does.
And I think that's what makes this deep dive so rewarding.
I agree.
It's not just about uncovering historical facts.
Right.
It's about exploring the evolution of ideas
Mhm.
and the enduring power of human curiosity.
Exactly.
We've talked about Churchill's insights on the moon,
Yeah.
exoplanets,
Right.
and the habitable zone.
Yes.
But there's one more aspect of his essay that I find particularly intriguing.
Okay.
His thoughts on space travel.
Ah, yes.
Mm.
His vision of humanity venturing beyond Earth,
Yeah.
even amidst the turmoil of a world war,
Right.
speaks volumes about his optimism and his belief in the boundless potential of science and technology.
He wasn't just speculating about the possibility of space travel either.
No.
He seemed genuinely convinced that it was within our grasp.
He did.
Even writing that it may be possible to travel to the moon or even to Venus or Mars.
Wow.
It's like he could already envision humanity taking those first tentative steps into the cosmic frontier.
It's a powerful image, isn't it?
It is.
And I think it speaks to a fundamental aspect of the human spirit.
Okay.
That innate drive to explore,
Yeah.
to push beyond the boundaries of the known, and to seek new horizons.
It definitely resonates with my own interest in technology and the future.
I bet.
So we have this incredible vision of space travel laid out by Churchill.
We do.
And we've seen how his ideas on extraterrestrial life were remarkably prescient.
Yes.
But this was all written decades ago.
Right.
Can't help but wonder,
Right.
what would Churchill make of our progress in space exploration today?
Now, that is a truly thought-provoking question.
Yes.
We've landed on the moon,
Yeah.
sent rovers to Mars, and we're discovering new exoplanets at an astonishing rate.
Right. Would he be thrilled by our advancements?
Maybe a bit disappointed that we haven't ventured further.
Yeah.
Or perhaps he'd urge us to proceed with caution,
Okay.
considering the potential implications of encountering other life forms.
It's hard to say for sure, but I imagine he'd be both fascinated and a bit impatient with our progress.
Yeah,
After all, he was a man of action.
he was.
Known for his bold leadership and his unwavering belief in human ingenuity.
That's right.
I think he'd be urging us to push even further,
Yeah.
to keep exploring, to never lose sight of that sense of wonder that he so beautifully articulated in his essay.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
His essay serves as a powerful reminder that the pursuit of knowledge and understanding transcends time and circumstance.
Yeah.
It's a fundamental part of what makes us human.
So to all our listeners out there, keep looking up at the stars.
Yes.
Keep asking those big questions, and who knows, maybe one day we'll have a definitive answer to the question Churchill posed all those years ago.
Yeah.
Are we alone?
And perhaps even more importantly, we'll have the wisdom to know what to do with that answer when we find it.
Now that's something to think about. Until next time, keep exploring. You know, it's amazing to think about this.
What's that?
That Churchill, amidst all this pressure
Yeah.
of leading a nation on the brink of war, he
Right.
found the time
Yeah.
and the mental space
Mhm.
to ponder these existential questions. It
Yeah.
speaks volumes about the power of curiosity
Absolutely.
and the importance of keeping that spark alive even in the face of adversity.
It really does. And, it's not just about the big questions of alien life and space travel.
Right.
Churchill's essay also raises some fascinating points about the very nature of life itself.
Okay.
Remember that section?
Yeah.
That was omitted from the 1942 version, the
Mhm.
one that dealt with the definition of life.
Oh, right. The one that the Finest Hour folks uncovered.
Yes.
What did Churchill have to say about defining life anyway? It seems like a pretty fundamental question, but I bet it wasn't so straightforward back then.
Well, he acknowledged that there wasn't a single universally accepted definition.
Okay.
Back then, the scientific community was still grappling with the complexities of biology.
Yeah.
And our understanding of genetics and molecular biology was far less developed than it is today.
So how did Churchill approach this question of defining life,
Well,
given the limited scientific knowledge of the time?
he took a rather pragmatic approach,
Okay.
focusing on observable characteristics and functions.
Right.
He talked about the ability to reproduce,
Yeah.
to adapt to the environment, and to consume and process energy.
Okay.
He even touched upon the idea of evolution,
Oh, wow.
which was still a relatively new and controversial concept at the time.
That's pretty insightful for someone writing in the 1930s.
It is.
It sounds like he was trying to establish a framework for thinking about life
Yeah.
that could be applied beyond Earth,
Right.
even to potentially very different forms of life.
Exactly. He was essentially trying to broaden the definition of life beyond the familiar examples we see on Earth,
Okay.
recognizing that life elsewhere might take on forms we can't even imagine.
Right.
He even speculated that life might exist in environments we consider hostile, like extreme temperatures or pressures.
So he was challenging the anthropocentric view of life.
He was.
The idea that all life must be similar to what we know here on Earth.
Exactly.
It's like he was paving the way for the field of astrobiology.
Absolutely.
Which explores the possibility of life beyond our planet in all its potential forms.
His forward-thinking approach is a testament to his ability to think outside the box and to embrace new ideas.
Right.
And this open-minded perspective is something we can all learn from.
Yeah.
Especially as we continue our exploration of the cosmos.
Right.
And grapple with the profound implications of potentially finding life beyond Earth.
It's a humbling thought, isn't it?
It is.
Realizing that our understanding of life might be just a tiny sliver of what's actually out there in the vastness of the universe.
A tiny sliver.
It makes this whole deep dive even more meaningful, knowing that Churchill was wrestling with these very same questions decades ago.
It definitely adds a layer of depth and perspective.
It does.
And, it's not just about finding definitive answers.
Right.
Sometimes the most important thing is to keep asking the questions.
Yeah.
To keep exploring, to keep challenging our assumptions.
It's true.
Yeah.
Churchill's essay embodies that spirit of inquiry.
It does it.
It's a reminder that curiosity and the pursuit of knowledge are essential parts of what make us human.
Absolutely.
It's about pushing the boundaries of our understanding and embracing the unknown.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I think it's fitting to leave our listeners with a challenge.
Okay.
Take inspiration from Churchill's example.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask the big questions, to explore new ideas, and to keep that sense of wonder alive.
Absolutely. Who knows what incredible discoveries await us out there in the vast expanse of the universe.
That's right.
And maybe, just maybe someday we'll have the answer to that age-old question that has captivated thinkers like Churchill for centuries.
Right.
Are we alone?
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what we think we know.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey through Winston Churchill's mind. Until next time, keep those minds curious.